Hola, this is Enrique Morones of Gente Unida, and we have another podcast of Buen Hombre, Magnificent Mujer. And as always, we have a really spectacular person that's going to be joining us. He is a Buen Hombre and a good friend, a member of the board of directors of Gente Unida, and very possibly the president. We haven't voted on that yet, but I'm talking about none other than Juan Rosas. He's in San Bernardino with a beautiful backdrop. So Juan, welcome to Gente Unida on behalf of our producer, Sarah Bella, and your host, Enrique Morones.
Thank you, Enrique. Thank you, Sarah. It's a pleasure to be here and be part of this podcast for Gente Unida.
Yes, we're very excited. So I know you've heard some of other podcasts, and my first question is, who is the person that we're interviewing, in this case, you? So who is Juan Rosas?
First and foremost, who am I? I'm a husband and a father. A husband to my beautiful wife, Yadira Ortiz, and our three kids, David, Elena, and Julian. Aside from that, I'm also a teacher. I just completed my 23rd years in education, teaching anywhere between elementary, all the way up to 12th grade, high school, and some college as well. Aside from that, I'm a part of my community with different organizations that we collaborate with, and I'm proud of helping out our gente out here in the community and as well as across the border in Baja.
And speaking of across the border in Baja, you're a Cachanilla.
I am. I was born in Mexicali. Do not remember living there. I've been living here in the States since I was about a year and a half. But my roots have always been, there in Mexicali. I've always gone back ever since we were able to go back. But yeah, I do have my roots in Mexicali, Michoacan, and Sonora.
All right. Yeah, beautiful parts of the world. And Juan, you were mentioning about teaching. ESL, English as a second language. Is that the majority of your teaching, or like what grades are you teaching, and what do you teach?
Currently, I'm teaching elementary. I've been doing that for the past 6 years. And the main focus at the school that I'm at is the school with the most English learners in our school district in Rialto Unified. Like I said, most of our students are English learners, not just coming from Spanish-speaking countries, but also from the Philippines. We have a couple of students from Indonesia as well. And so our school is one of four in the district that is a dual language immersion school, focusing on Spanish as the second language, followed by English. Teaching them, helping students become biliterate, both in English and Spanish by the time that they graduate from high school. Currently, this past month, I was teaching English as a second language as a summer school program for a total of 26 students from different parts of Central America, Mexico, Ecuador, Colombia, and Indonesia as well.
When you're talking to the people, like the majority that you just mentioned that are from Spanish-speaking countries, do you ever have situations where you have a word that you, like me, are Mexican? So in Mexico, we understand exactly, and if it's a slang word. But maybe in Colombia or someplace else in Latin America, that makes no sense. Do you ever have that situation when you use some sort of a phrase and they go, "What are you talking about?"
I think I had it the other way around. I had students asking me certain things. For example, I had the one student from Ecuador. He was asking me certain things, and I had to look it up because I was not sure what that meant in Spanish or in his country. One of the word I cannot think of right now that they used was the word for homework, where in Spanish I'm accustomed to using tarea, tarea, which means homework, but he was using a different word in Spanish that I had to look it up, and then I rephrased it back to him in the same vocabulary word that he used to make sure that I understood what he said. But in this case, it was the other way around. It was not him not understanding, but it was me being taught by him a new vocabulary word.
Yeah, those idioms, those types of situations can be dangerous at times. They can be humorous at times. As you know, I was in Costa Rica this past summer, and I was talking to somebody on the bus, and I was talking about that because he said something, and I go, what does that mean? In Mexico, it means something totally different. Anyways, so we discussed this. We discussed how beautiful our language is and how there's different slang words in different languages. So as we talked about this, all of a sudden we pulled up to a stop, and he pointed out the window, and he knows I'm very sensitive to diversity issues. And he says, "Mira esos mamones. Look at those mamones." And as you know, mamones in Spanish from Mexico means like dummies or something like that. So I got kind of mad. I go, "How can you call those people mamones?" And he did it on purpose. He goes, "I'm not talking about the people. In Costa Rica, mamones is a type of fruit." He was talking about the tree there that had some mamones, some fruits hanging from it. And he did it joking around. And so we laughed, and I go, yeah, it could be dangerous. Those types of things could be dangerous. And before we get into a little bit more about your many activities, Juan, why don't you tell us a little bit about your beautiful wife and the many activities that Yadira is doing? Because we just had a big success. It's not a final action, but the situation with DACA and so forth. So tell us a little bit about Yadira's work.
Sure. Yadira, my wife, she is the executive director for PH Dreamers. This is a nonprofit organization who, what she does is she helps find resources. She advocates as well for undocumented students. Most of these students have DACA that are in the medical field. And
what's DACA?
DACA, the deferred actions.
Childhood arrival.
Childhood arrivals. This is one of the laws that was given or that was passed under the Obama administration, to allow undocumented students to be able to work here in the United States. And so currently the Trump administration had been trying to get rid of it. They stopped allowing, I believe it was back in November, September of 19, they stopped allowing people to apply to it. As for now, they can only reapply for those already that have DACA. And just recently, a judge said that that the process of DACA should continue after it had been halted for the last almost 4 or 5 months. So that was actually a big win for those that have DACA, and as well as for my wife's organization, because most of those people that she helps have DACA. Another great thing is that aside from what she does, her bosses are themselves undocumented doctors now, and so it is great to have that, because we keep hearing we keep hearing in the news, especially from this administration, that that the undocumented community does not contribute, but here we have her bosses contributing to the U.S. They're doctors, they're helping out, they're paying their taxes as well.
That's right. So the work that your wife is doing, she's working with these undocumented people that are studying to be doctors. That's unbelievable, because I think a lot of times when people think about the undocumented community, they don't realize that they come in all fields. There's doctors and engineers and architects, and yes, there's the person that works in the field, and all are essential. They're all very valuable people, but these are the people, as far as education goes, at the very top of their field. They're going to be doctors. They're definitely essential workers, and so she helps them. She has this organization, and I know that we were working on having a retreat at one of Cesar Chavez's sons' programs, Paul Chavez, and we were going to have a retreat, which I know will happen in the future, but because of the situation with the virus, that's been postponed. But everybody must have been thrilled when they heard the news that, at least for now, because it's not permanent, they can continue, they can reapply for DACA, and they're safe, at least for now. And it only emphasizes how much of an importance it is that we vote in November. We gotta vote in November to make sure that becomes a permanent situation, not just temporary.
Yeah, and it's not just we're not just voting for ourselves and to make a change in the presidents, but also we're voting for those people who cannot vote. We're standing up for them as well. For example, these people that have DACA, the undocumented people. Maybe who knows? Maybe the next president has better ideas and is willing to give that lending hand and that next step for that possible pathway to citizenship.
I agree, and I believe that eventually we will have a Latina president. I believe it'll be a Latina, and I think it'll be sooner than later. And people my age, I'm a lot older than you and Yadira, we blew it, and it's the young people that are really what gives me hope. That gives me hope for a better future. And one of the things that you've also been very active in, because before in the past when both of us were actively involved with Border Angels, you were in charge of the Border Angels day labor outreach across the country, and now you're doing that same role for Gente Unida. So tell us a little bit about that. What is day labor outreach?
Yeah, the day labor outreach, we hold this every first Saturday of the month. This past month, because of what had been going on with what happened with George Floyd and all the marches going on with the Black Lives Matter movement, we postponed it. But beginning in August again, we'll be back at it. So the day labor outreach, what we do, we usually make a call for the community, and for men's clothing, especially men's clothing, because most of our laborers, these are mostly men that are looking for jobs outside of a local Home Depot. And so we ask for jeans or shirts, and as well as socks. And what we do is that day, we do it as a family here. We usually have our oldest child, my wife and myself. We get up early on Saturday and we go to our local panaderia, bakery store here, and we buy about anywhere between 40 to 60 bolillos to make tortas, sandwiches. And we make them in the morning, early morning. We make anywhere between 40 to 60 sandwiches. We put them in bags with a bottle of water, a fruit, a snack, and we head out. And beginning at 8 a.m. to one of our local Home Depots. We also have volunteers that do come out. One of our volunteers that has been very active with us is Lean Creations. This is a company that does meal preps. And our friends, they've been very kind to come out and donate anywhere between 40 to 50 or 60 breakfasts that they make that morning as well. So, the laborers, it's twofold. They get a warm breakfast and they also get a lunch to go. That day, as far as clothing, if we have any, we also hand out resources. For example, Know Your Rights cards that are both in English and Spanish. We also hand out local medical resources that are free to low cost, which are medical, dental, and mental services. Along with that brochure that we give them are the Mexican and the Guatemalan consulates, which are our nearby consulates here, and law offices that we've allied with, and they are willing to help, and at least for a free consultation, and then from there, they go on to whatever their needs are. Yeah, and any, the volunteers that we get out here depends, sometimes we have one, sometimes we've had up to 22 at a time. Most of the the volunteers that we get are people from our local colleges and universities, whether it's from our San Bernardino Valley College or Cal State San Bernardino, Redlands University as well, UCR, UC Riverside, and we've had different people come out here. And we've even had the Pomona Labor Coalition come out here. Pomona we're about 30 miles from Pomona, and we're in San Bernardino County. Pomona is in LA County, but we've had a representative come out here and and give our laborers, whoever wish, voluntarily, IDs, identification card that identifies them as a day laborer for that area. That way, if law enforcement or anyone would come and harass them, they can always show them their ID, letting them know, hey, we're only here, we're not causing any trouble. We're here as a labor union. And so it's been great so far. I believe the last time I heard, there was about 40 of the gentlemen that had received their IDs. So the way it works is a rep goes and we also help them, they fill out the application, and within 7 to 10 days, they come back and they hand those out. It's not like you mail them to their home address. We actually hand it to them personally. That way we know that they received it. And it empowers them too. They're not just there on their own. They actually belong to an organization that can back them up in case they get into trouble.
Or other situations that might come up. It can be a positive situation and they want to include others. You're doing outstanding work, and you've been doing outstanding work for a long time. One of the things that we're evaluating is the Home Depot situation. I was very much involved in leading the efforts to get rid of Lou Dobbs from CNN because of his racist points of view, and we were very successful. We were able to get a coalition together, Gente Unida. This is back in the actual action took place in 2009. That's when CNN resigned Lou Dobbs because we got other people involved and so forth. Well, one of the persons that was working side by side with me is a young man from El Salvador. His name is Roberto Lobato. And recently I reached out to him and I said, hey, Roberto, I've been getting information about these organizations that we should boycott. And one of them is Home Depot, because the owner is a Trump supporter and he's donating a lot of money and so on and so forth. And I said, the community needs to know about that. The community needs to know about that. So we're looking at some of these situations where we that are involved with the day laborers, and I've been doing this day labor outreach for 34 years now. And now we're looking at the Lowe's, supporting the Lowe's stores that sell the same types of things. So those are issues that we want to be sensitive about. We'll be talking about those things. And don't forget that on a recent trip up to San Bernardino with the Home Depot or the day labor outreach that you lead there, we had two dear friends of ours that came up there, Mario Torero and Sarah Bella. And they both painted on the back of one of the day laborers, the Gente Unida logo with the sign. And I remember how excited that person was to meet Mario and Sarah, to see the painting on the side of his truck. And he's a guy that drives around telling people that he can haul things for you, and he does day labor. So for them to feel included, for them to be treated with respect, for them to have a card that identifies them as part of this organization is very powerful. And you see it in their face when you talk to them, the gratefulness that they have. And another thing about Sarah that's very important, Juan, that food packaging. You need to talk to her because she's always very much oriented as far as health food and stuff. So there might be some sort of a collaboration there. So that's something I recommend that you talk to her in the near future about. One thing about August, when August comes around, we've never stopped the day labor outreach, as you know. I mean, there might be a Saturday that we have to move things around. And we've never stopped our caravans of love. Of late, the caravans have been maybe one car or two cars or three cars, etc. But we are planning one again at the beginning of August. And I'll give you the information as we have more information. because a lot of it depends on if it's going to be open to be able to cross into Tijuana. You and Adi and I were able to do that a few weeks ago, and everything was fine. But things could change. You know, they might have the CBP people there checking people as they go in. We should be able to go in anyways because it's essential what we're doing, bringing supplies, teaching the kids dance, therapy, music, etc., art. So we'll see what happens. But it's very, very important that we continue with our efforts, because if there's a group of people that have been social distance already for a long time, a lot of times it's the undocumented community that are here because they want to have a better life, just like all of us do, just like all of our parents wanted for us. And it's very important that we continue with that story. And this past week, I was talking to somebody about how faith has played a key role in making who I am. And I know that faith has played a key role in making who you are. How about sharing with us a little bit about your past and how you thought about maybe following that religious path in a more direct manner at one time?
Well, yeah, I mean, I was, before becoming a teacher, I was, my undergrad, I did my undergrad in a seminary, in a Catholic seminary. I was there for 5 years studying to be a priest. I'd always been, since I was a kid, I'd always been involved at church with, as an altar server, then as a catechist, as a part of the youth program. And, there was always something there. And I never thought about the seminary. I was set to go into Cal Poly Pomona to study engineer. And before graduating from high school, I had a nun come up to me and I got invited to a vocation discernment meeting at my church in LA. And she told me after our meeting, she go, "Oh, you're going to be a priest." I go, "No." And I just told her no straight out. And 2 weeks later, I called the pastor of the church, who happened to eventually was a really, really good friend of mine, passed away a couple of years ago. And so I spoke to him like, "You know what, Father Gabe, I'll give it a try." And I was there for 5 years, and I never have regretted, the education that I received there. I thought it's been the best education that I've had from St. John's Seminary College. I was there for 5 years. I had my undergrad in Spanish, philosophy, and psychology. And when I left under a leave of absence after graduating from the undergrad college, and I started teaching. And I never went back. I mean, I eventually got married, and it's been, it's been great. I mean, I don't want to blame it in a negative way, but I think that was part of the foundation that has kept me in helping out in my community since before I even thought about or heard about Border Angels or Gente Unida in this case, but it's been something that has been, implanted in me. I've always been inclined to helping people. And so, I think that's been a very, important part of my life.
And it's reflected in your lifestyle and in the way that you talk to people and in your organizing skills, because you're very focused and it's sincere. One of the things that I've learned, especially of late, is that things aren't always the way they seem. You talk to people and be very careful when people say, "Oh, you're my brother, I love," you're going, well, it's not the words, it's the actions. And you've done everything through actions. Be very careful. If somebody says they want to be a millionaire, going, that is not a person for a human rights organization, because we want to be a person that shares love, that has servant leadership, that regardless if they're a religious person or not, has the faith in their fellow human being and the actions of a practicing love through actions, not just words. And you've always exemplified that. And one of the things that I think is really exciting is that we're all involved in the ground floor of Gente Unida as a nonprofit, because Gente Unida has been around for a long time. I started it back in 2005, but it was kind of a backup situation back then. focused on, of course, exposing what was going on back then, way back in 2005. We should get out of Iraq and what's going on in Washington, D.C., and this news station that's promoting hate, Fox News, and the vigilantes with guns on the border, the Minutemen. That's the foundation of Gente Unida. But now we're a 501c3. Now we're a nonprofit. And to have this foundation and to be on the ground floor is very, very important. And we got an incredible board, as you know. Ari, with her dance therapy, and the newcomers like Hugo, with a lifetime of human rights activity. Jesus, whom I don't think you've known yet or met yet, who's a documentarian from Spain, also devoted to human rights. Erika, she's so enthusiastic. When we had our board meeting, you could just see that enthusiasm from her. And of course, her story went viral when that picture came out of her in the graduation gown in the strawberry fields. Nicole Ramos, her work as an asylum attorney. Josefina Lopez, legendary film director. It's been incredible. It's been incredible. It's been incredible. It's like an all-star lineup of human rights activists, and it's going to continue to grow. And so what do you see as the vision for Gente Unida as we grow, especially in this time that we're facing right now? And when I talk about this time, we're talking about two viruses that are prevalent in society. One is COVID, and the other is racism. What do you see as the vision of Gente Unida?
The vision right now, the vision of Gente Unida that I see is that, we need to, one, we got to take care of that COVID. We got to take care of ourselves first, because if we're not healthy, if we're not, feeling well, we shouldn't be out there, first of all, in society trying to help others when we are unhealthy. It's got to be us first. Second, we got to battle right now. We have a battle with this virus, current virus that we have in our government, and we need to, especially with racism. And what I see with Gente Unida is that, you just mentioned, we have an all-star board to begin with. And with that all-star board, I think, we can do a lot with our different connections that we may have out there in the communities. On our end, I can only speak for myself. I know, that both Yadira and I, we've been out in the community, whether it's with the immigration task force of our local congressman out here, and where we've been meeting just to keep updated as to what is it that him and part of his team is doing in Congress, to pass laws. He keeps us updated with that. He, months ago, he was there, talking to us about the budget that this president wanted, and how is it that, they might go by as far as, not giving him everything, but there's got to be some leeway, for example. You can't just keep feeding the virus in this case. But, we all have connections. Adi, I had just met Adi a couple of weeks ago for the first time. And her presence, that one thing that I noticed was the presence that she had with the community when we were in Playas in Tijuana, very welcomed, very warm heart that, that the people just accepted without even knowing her, perhaps. Hugo, I know Hugo, I've known Hugo for a couple of years now, and the work that he does with the community there, and the amount of people that have supported him with the caravans that he has led from San Diego into Tijuana. It's massive, as far as the amount of people that help him out. And same thing with Nicole Ramos. She's been around for a while as an asylum, as an attorney for asylum people that are in asylum detention centers, and so she's been doing a lot. Her and her organization that she works with, they've been doing a lot, and so it's been, even though she may A lot of people may not know her or have from her. We've heard of her organization, and we know that they have done a lot for those for the asylum seekers. And so it's a good team. We've been attacking racism, from different ways, whether it might be by supporting it through a post. One thing I learned is you can post anything, but if you're not doing anything or being out in the community, you might as well not post it. Like you said, it does take action. It does take action. It's different than just saying, "Oh, I support Black Lives Matter," and just sit and do nothing about it. But when you're out there and whether it's in a march or whether it's speaking about it, it's a different story. And I think we are and we have been heading in that direction. With battling racism.
Absolutely. And then the people you mentioned, Adi and Ugo and Nicole, and it also applies, of course, to Josefina and Erica. These are people that stay in the background. Even though they're doing incredible things, they're not bringing attention to themselves. There's people that even pay the news services so that they'll write stories about them. I mean, that's about as low as it can get. These are people that let their action speak for themselves. And you see that from the reception from the community. That's very, very powerful. This beautiful mural that you have behind you, and when we were down in San Quintin with Fidel and his family and the farm workers down there, it's right behind you, but the person behind you actually has a mask. He has a mask on, and that has nothing to do with the virus, because this was painted way before the virus even existed. And our solidarity with the Zapatistas goes as far as when we were at Playas de Tijuana not too long ago, that we met with Emiliano Zapata's great-grandson, Edgar, and he's joining us. So with Gente Unida, United People, the coalition continues to build. The coalition continues to build. So speaking of the mural behind you, Juan, Fidel, who's an organizer there for the workers in the fields, we have a petition on his behalf. We want to build a daycare center for the children, the predominantly Oaxacan children that are there, that need some place to go while their parents work in the fields, right there in San Quintin. Because these farm workers that we see throughout the world, they're also right there in San Quintin, 4.5 hours south of the San Diego-Tijuana border, and we want to help support them. So we will have information on that, how you can support that. And then maybe some of the people that are watching can join us on one of our caravans when we go down to San Quintin once again. Recently, Mario Torero was working on another one of his murals, refurbishing a mural here in San Diego, in Southeast San Diego. It's a kitty corner from Christ the King Catholic Church. So we met with the pastor, Pastor Thomas Jennings, affectionately known as TJ. And he was saying, "Oh, thank you so much for coming out here and refurbishing the mural." And we said, "We want to do so much more here in the community, in this part of town." And he goes, "Let me know how I can help you." And that's what's happening. Because immediately, like, I've known the pastor for some time. My oldest brother actually used to do volunteer work there. And then I've known Father TJ for a long time. But he knows the reality of who we are by our actions. And he knew who Mario was from his reputation. So for them to actually meet that day was fantastic. And that's the spirit of Gente Unida, bringing people together for a common good. Working, because everybody was in their own right, like we said, the all-star legendary board of directors members, in their own right, they're doing fantastic things. But as a group, we can do a lot more. We can do a lot more using the contacts and other people's attributes. And that's why we want to expand with an advisory board like I've had before in other organizations, and we're doing that right now. And then formalizing the organization by having a president, a vice president, et cetera, which is something that we're working on. So we encourage people that are listening to the podcast, if they're interested, contact us. We want to be as transparent as possible. We are always looking for help and support. We have these beautiful T-shirts like that I have on, but it'll look a lot better than you on people watching this than it does on me. Excuse me. But we have, we're doing an all-out effort to promote the fact that love has no borders. Love has no borders. And our emphasis on the migrant children, and we want to thank the Aunties Sewing Club because they've come up with these wonderful masks. And here's one of them. They have these wonderful masks that they've been donating to Gente Unida so that we can take them down to the children at the shelters in Tijuana, as other people are also donating food and items. Just this past week, I took some to our dear friend Mari Cookie so she could take down to Tijuana. She's doing a lot better. As we know, she had a health scare. So stay tuned because we are continuing with our caravans of love. Eventually, they will build up to what they were last year when we had up to 35, 40 cars. But we're going to be doing it little by little. And then people contact us. We're going to go down there tomorrow or in a couple of days. That way we can get the proper permit so that the people can go down to Tijuana. So Juan, you got your hands full. You're teaching. You're on the board for Gente Unida. You're a candidate for the presidency of the board. You're the day labor. All of these various things that you're doing. One of the things that I like to ask our guests, and it goes along with who we are as people. When I ask somebody what the definition or what this means to them, I'd like to hear your response. To Juan Rosas, what is love?
It's, it's, I mean, it's different things. I mean, one, coming, here as a father and a husband, that would be one. But the other thing is, just, going out and helping the community. It had been almost, I'm going on 4 months since we had been to Tijuana, or since I had been to Tijuana. And, a lot of times, my wife and I, we've said, it's not just the friends that we have encountered and befriended there in Tijuana, whether it be people, whether it be Hugo in Tijuana or Marikuki, even our deported veterans as well. But, these friends are our family. And to us, when something is going on with any of them, it affects us, and that effect that causes that we get, that negative effect sometimes because something's going on with them, whether it be health-wise, whether it be, that they need something at a shelter or at their organization that they help out at, that feeling that we get, that's the love that I think is affecting me. That's the love that we have for them. That's why, we are inclined, and I'm speaking for my wife as well, we're inclined to just like, how can we help? In the last couple of months, we weren't able to go because of COVID-19, but we were able to help out by either sending some money or by taking donations somewhere else locally. And, and it's a good feeling because, that's the love that I feel, that I have towards the people that we help or that I help out. If I'm just sitting around not doing anything, I feel like I feel like useless, for a while. And so it's not until we're out there, or like just a couple weeks ago, for example, we know that Perla, who's one of our who's one of our ladies there at Sagrado Corazon shelter, she needed a thermometer, one of those special thermometers, and so we were able to help her out. We were able to send some money to someone out there that we know was able to buy her that thermometer that's needed, because she during the daytime she works as a nurse. She works out, doing temperature checks, the diabetes checks, and that's how she goes by and, you know, getting her a little bit of wage or money in order to help out the people, you know, that is at her shelter. And so love for me is helping out, you know, just giving. It doesn't have to be money. I mean, it could be just even being there, just to listen. You know, there've been many times where we just sit and listen to people at the shelters, migrants at the shelters, and there's been times where, you know, just listening to them is a good thing, because, you know, it's not just them saying, you know, or being stuck there and not, you know, feeling just helpless all the time, but, you know, hey, at least they know that there's someone else there that that is there for them.
Absolutely. Well said. Love is an action, not just a word. And that's something you've always demonstrated, whether it was with Perla or Pastor Sara that was with us a couple of weeks ago, or the dozen shelter leaders that joined us at Playas de Tijuana at Hugo's calling. That was very powerful. Plus organizations that came from Mexicali, from other parts of Mexico, from Southern California. That was very powerful, and that's what Gente Unida is all about. And then, of course, with Esperanza and Embajada Migrante, the warmness that they received us when we were there a few weeks ago. And that's what love's all about, because it's a sense. You see the sincerity. You see when it's not sincere by certain groups or people, and when it is sincere, and it's the reaction from the people. You know, when they have a situation that comes up, they know they can count on us, and we know that we can count on you, Juan. So Juan, on behalf of Sarah Bella, our producer, myself, Enrique Morones, thank you very much for joining us on Buen Hombre. We wish you lots of continued success. We will continue to be working together to make this a better world for all, because what's going to make the biggest difference in the world is, of course, love. And amor, si se puede. Muchísimas gracias. Que Dios te bendiga. And thanks for all your work.
Thank you
all. And stay tuned for another podcast of Buen Hombre, Magnificent Mujer.
Thank you. Thank you for having us, for having me.
Thank you. So thank you all once again. Stay tuned to Buen Hombre, Magnificent Mujer on the various services for podcast, as well as the website, buenhombre.org, magnificentmujer.org. Muchas gracias.